fortunate in this area.
driving back and forth, which is why it's very hybrid, because we're
At least it's
squeezing shoehorning in.
I do not know.
Mine does not.
I watched Ted Lasso.
Marianne to come see me.
It's a really, and that's the kind of show.
Because if he wants all of a sudden to come in, I'm like, yeah, I can do this. But if he actually makes it up, so it's as bad as it is, it works. So it's fun. He actually calls.
Right. Feeding the TV display. Hey, then she knows the room employees. Yeah, it is a feel-good show. My wife and I said it every
Just
time.
holding my camera up to the sky.
I think we're halfway through the second season.
That was a wedding.
We just got Apple TV. We actually stole my sister's password, but we didn't have it for.
Hi guys, how are you? How are you? Good to see you. It's 7 o'clock. Do you know where your supervisor is?
Not like I haven't waited for you before, Deputy Supervisor Councilman Michael Slattery.
Well, at least you used Michael this time.
Hey, Mike. That was good.
And there's still a minute to go, so.
You got time, relax. Everybody calm down.
There's nothing to see here. Everybody go back to their corners.
Right.
Updated letter.
ID numbers.
I'd like to call to order the Charlotte Town Board meeting for October 16th, 2024. Would everyone please rise and join us for the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
God our Father, as we gather for this meeting, we seek your blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. And as Election Day approaches, we also pray for all those who have placed their name before the people to seal their commitment of public service for the common good. May we seek to better understand the issues and concerns that confront our government and pray for discernment so that they may choose leaders who will best represent us with honesty and uprightness. Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's got
We're bringing back.
How's that?
Yeah.
We get it now?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
You want to start over?
Sorry, God.
Sorry.
Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Here.
Councilwoman Spare?
Here.
Councilman Valerio?
Here.
Councilman Slattery?
Here.
Supervisor Dunning?
Here. Other official advisors present this evening: to my far right, Town Clerk Jenny Ignatowski. Also to my right, Deputy Town Supervisor Councilman Michael Slattery. To my far left is Council of the Town. It is not Jared Hurt. It is Matt Piston this evening. And at the side table, we have Commissioner of Public Works, Superintendent of Highways David Lindsay, Director of Finance Dan Knapp, Insurance Counselor Scott Bonuel, and from my office, Don Forte. Our stenographer is Sandy Hewitt. In the event of an emergency, if you would please use the exits to the corner of the room, and at this time, anyone with a cell phone, if you'd please either turn it off or set it to vibrate, we'd appreciate it. We do have a couple of presentations this evening. We'll start out with the presentation for the Friends to the Library. For those who may not know, that next week it is Friends of the Library Week, and the town board, why don't we go down and do this down here like we, I think I'm going to take my glasses so I can read. And Jeff, whoever you have here from the Friends who would like to join us.
Friends president is Eileen Malloy is in Martin, and Sue Smith from the Friends.
Come on up.
Come on up.
So, This is a proclamation from the town board in recognition of Friends of the Library Week, and I will read this proclamation if you don't mind. It is whereas Friends of the Child Library and local Friends of Library groups across the state are dedicated to the support of libraries as institutions essential to the democracy and lifelong learning. And whereas Friends of the Child Library advocate for funding that will provide Child Library with the necessary print and electronic materials, expert assistance in research, technology, equipment, and services for all ages, from the very young to the senior citizen. And whereas Friends groups promote the joys and benefits of literacy, learning, and economic well-being for Child residents of all ages by investing time and effort in raising supplementary funds to enhance library resources and programming. And whereas Friends groups also volunteer many hours of work to help libraries provide services and materials to their patrons. And whereas the gifts of time and commitment by Friends of Libraries in Child Life set a positive example of civic engagement that benefits both volunteers and their communities. Now therefore, I, David Dunning, Supervisor for the Town of Child Life, Michael Slattery, Mary Spare, Mark DeCory, and James Valeria, Town Council members, do hereby proclaim October 20th through 26th, 2024 as Friends of the Library Week in the Town of Child Life, and encourage all residents to join us in this worthy observance. So I'd like to present this to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anything you'd like to offer on behalf of the Friends?
Well, thank you for doing this. We truly appreciate it. And anyone who'd like to become a friend, just come to the library or go to the website. We supported 681 programs last year to over 10,000 residents. So we truly appreciate it. And we would like to offer you something as well. These bags were made by one of our friends, Shirley Shaw, and they're all different, so you get to choose. And, it's just our way of thanking you for doing this for us, and to keep us in mind, and also a letter for each week.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great, congratulations. Thank you for what you do. Thank you. Yeah, let's, can we?
You get Jeff over here.
Come on, Jeff.
Gonna grab a quick photo.
Sure, thank you.
No. I got a face for radio, so don't worry about it.
We all in there?
Yep, there you go. All right, you ready?
That's my hair. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a great night. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
I wrote it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll grab it. Plagiarism doesn't work out well sometimes. Thank you. Our next presentation will be from Jeff Sudol, PE, on an incentive zoning application for 3231, 3233, and 3249 and 3253 Chili Avenue. Jess, before you get started, go ahead, you can come up. I would like to say the town board has received the incentive zoning package in its entirety, and they provided me with feedback on their thoughts and views on the incentive. At this time, the feedback I received did indicate that the town board did not feel that the 10-foot sidewalk was a benefit to the town. It was more a benefit to the project than it was a benefit back to the town. The other feedback I received was the town board had no interest in moving forward with incentive zoning on first floor apartments where they're not allowed typically in the GB district. The other incentives really were not all that big a deal. The board also felt that basically if this could be done to the GB code with some variances from the zoning board, should that be. With that said, I'll let you do your presentation and then we'll go from there.
Well, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Again, Jess Udall, civil engineer and president with Astro Associates, here tonight representing the Skylight Development Group, LLC. With me on behalf of the Skylight Development Group is Mr. Joe Gizzi. Also with us this evening is Trevor Howe, who is the project manager with Astro. So I kind of appreciate the way that you introduced the project in terms of what the town board might be looking for, what the town board wants, what the administrators don't want. So when Joe and his family brought this project to us, and just for context, I think everybody more or less knows what the site is. It couldn't be more smack dab in the middle of Chi-Light Center. But it starts at the corner, southeast corner of Old Scottsville Road and Chi Avenue. The corner piece, then it's the old senior center, and then it's going to be hopefully the old firehouse, which collectively makes up about 8.5 acres, zone GB. But when it comes to like what the town wants, rather we sit down kind of with a clean slate. These guys didn't come to us and say we need to do this, we have to do this. It was, what do you think? They're local, they live around here, they have the best interest of Chi-Light certainly in mind. But what do you think makes the most sense to put here? So what we did was we immediately go to the comprehensive planning documents, whether it's the town's comprehensive plan or whether it's the breakout Chi-Light corridor study. And we started looking at the goals and objectives of those plans as our best kind of roadmap for what might make sense to go there. And I don't think that Town Chi-Light currently has a true town center. Certainly, we have the Chili Fest and fireworks and everything. That area is the town center. That's where everyone parks and that's where everyone hangs out. And they walk over to the park, and that's great. But I guess I'm speaking out of opinion here, but there's not a lot where people could go park for the day, go to a different shops, go get some lunch, go and do all those things that you might find in other communities in the area. So we really looked at this as a great opportunity to provide something like that. The property has some great assets, most notably Chi-Light Avenue itself. And that's a great asset because of the average daily traffic volumes, which is probably the biggest data point that some of these national retail, restaurants and QSR, we can call them quick serve restaurants, use in evaluating the value, whether or not a site makes sense. Sorry. So, not surprisingly, because Chi-Light has a pretty high ADT, we already have a lot of interest from different users, which could really be a great gateway into the project. If we get some of those national users that we represent on the plan in the project, and we're working very closely with them on a daily basis, all of a sudden a lot of those dominoes start to fall. And a lot of people are interested in the other buildings in the property because we have that momentum, because they know that people are going to come to those nationally recognized brands. So that's how the plan started to come together. So, okay, well, first of all, we want to take advantage of Chi-Light Avenue. Let's put some of these pad sites on there. We're very confident that they'll be very successful. And then, well, what do we do with the rest of the property? Again, going back to the Chi-Light planning documents, some of those sketch plans show the layout with the buildings up on Chi-Light Avenue and some other buildings kind of scattered around the site, but there wasn't a definitive kind of layout that said, here it is. It did show some connectivity from Chi-Light Avenue coming down to the roadway that goes back to the community center. It's not called out as like a major thoroughfare, but it does show some of that connectivity. So right off the bat, we started having interest in providing a roadway that could go through the parcel. And we thought that could be beneficial for a lot of different reasons. For one, it could become our main street, if you will. And by having a nice boulevard, by having like a village-style acorn lighting in a boulevard, all of a sudden that can become an inviting place that people want to go to, and retail uses might want to be there. So it was, okay, let's start to develop Main Street. Some of the other benefits of that are, well, now there's a secondary means of access to get back to the community center, which right now only has one. And anyone who's familiar with this area knows that that is already used quite heavily as a cut through. The problem being it's not a controlled cut through. People going all over the place, there's no signalized intersection there. So we can still allow people to do that, people are gonna go from point A to point B, no matter what. If you ever design, if we do with engineers, a curved sidewalk, and you look at it 2 years later, everyone just goes pretty straight across, they don't go around the curve. It's just natural, the way people tend to operate. So we're trying to connect those 2 points from A to B, develop our main street. Now that gives us some really attractive sites that are not just on Charlie Avenue, which are of course attractive, but bring that throughout the entire project. And we were also planning on dedicating that road. People would say, well, why would the town want that road? Why would we dedicate it? There's a couple of different reasons. Some self-serving, some that we think are benefits to the community as a whole. Some of the self-serving reasons are we don't know who all these users are going to be. Some of the users could very well need to or want to carve out their own parcel and subdivide out a couple of acres for their building so that they can then finance it a certain way. If we don't have a dedicated roadway and we subdivide out the pad sites, well, then we've kind of created an island behind it. And if we get a user who we really think would be great for the project, but part of their requirements are we need a 2-acre subdivided site, that becomes a lot harder to do if we don't have that street frontage throughout the entire project. And that also ties into the utilities. Having a dedicated roadway allows us also to do dedicated water and sewer so that each of those buildings can have their own independent water and sewer service. If we were to not do that, have private utilities everywhere, then again, carving out a separate lot becomes a lot more complicated. So that was one of the driving points behind it. Again, we also saw the road to some extent in planning documents. But we also do think that it's beneficial to take that desired A to B cut-through traffic, control it, and to a degree encourage it, because quite frankly, we're going to want people going in front of our new storefronts. We're going to want to show off the project. We're going to want people to be going down our main street and seeing something that maybe they don't know is there, and then driving around the back and parking and staying there. So that's kind of how we said, okay, we're going to put this building at the corner of Old Scottsville Road and Chili. It's a really nice, super visible corner, especially as you're coming, traveling northeast on Chili Avenue. Then we have our pad sites to take advantage of the corridor. And we're going to bring in this main street and front that with retail buildings that we think could really be a very cool opportunity for us and the town. And that left us with, well, what do we do with the rest of the property? And the planning documents talk about the idea of mixed use, and they talk a lot about vertically integrated mixed use. And that is a very popular approach. It's a tough thing, very tough thing to pull off in Western New York. It works great outside of Baltimore, it works great outside of Charlotte and Atlanta. But it's a little bit different in Western New York because of the demographics, because of the weather. And the reason I say that is we're working in other communities. Carrington, for example, wrote an entire zoning code about requiring vertically mixed-use buildings. It didn't work for 3 years, and then they had to rewrite their entire code. Penfield is currently in the middle of potentially doing something very similar. And the reason why it's tough to make those buildings work is a couple of reasons. One of them has to do with financing. And those buildings might take a year to build. It's really hard to get an LOI from a tenant for 2,000 square feet that might slot in on that first floor when you can't move them in for a year. We would much rather see them in one of the other buildings that we might build on spec. And it's also tough to have people, some people are hesitant about living above retail uses. Just because our area, Western New York, is not as accustomed to it as some other much larger urban type environments where that's the norm. I know we were obviously involved in Mr. Howard's project over there by Wegmans, and there's a very high demand for those residential units, but ground floor retail is going to be a pretty big problem. And with this site, we have the opportunity to do about 55,000 square feet of what we would say was standalone retail. But we still have, which we think is more than enough. I think if we were to build 55,000 square feet retail over there and fill it up every square foot, that would be a massive success for, I think, the entire community. But we don't know that we need a whole lot more than that. So that's when we started having conversations about, well, what are our elements that we fold into this plan? Now we've kind of defined some of the major ones. And that's when we started having a conversation about residential. We could have come in and said, almost every building in that layout has residential above the retail. We would have had more units than we're currently proposing. But again, we don't necessarily think that's the best project. We felt that putting units in a smaller amount than what's allowed as of right in the GB zone, and just doing what we think a relatively small amount, in the mid-50s is not a huge number. And personally, when I looked at the plan, I was meeting with these guys, and I said, I would love to live there. Especially this thing gets put out, there's restaurants here, there's retail, and it's very walkable, it's multimodal. You got the park right there, there's all kinds of amenities, you're close to the park, the community center, like what better place to live, than right there, depending on what your situation is. So that's where the idea of having residential in that area, and some of the reasons why we are proposing it on the first floor. Swapping out that first floor with retail, I'm not convinced, and we can certainly have a conversation about. That's why we're here tonight, to hear what it has to say. With retail, I'm not so sure how much better that makes the project. If we're talking with somebody who's interested in, setting up their shop there, we kind of think that they're much more likely to go, want to go either up on Charlotte Avenue or on our new Main Street in one of those areas specifically designated for retail. But I understand concerns. We're happy to hear some reasons on why. I thought it was important to kind of lay out our rationale of why we did what we did. As far as whether or not the sidewalk would be an amenity, we certainly thought that Charlotte Avenue right now is not super walkable. There's a lot of traffic on it. There's not many uses that front on it. I think the various boards here in town did a good job working with Taco Bell to keep their drive-through from right around the front, and started the idea of activating that corridor, which ultimately slows traffic down, makes it more inviting, which makes it more multimodal. And we thought putting in a sidewalk or almost a plaza where people could feel really safe walking up and down Charlotte Avenue and across our project, maybe cutting through our project to get back to the park. Maybe their kids have a game and they want to walk up and through our project and go over to the diner across the street or Legion Bean or whatever. We just felt it would be a lot more inviting, and we listed out some of the specific language in the planning documents where that's talked about. So that was our thought process there. And as mentioned, Mr. Supervisor, I think the rest of the incentives are fairly straightforward. Some of them deal with setbacks. Again, we wanted the buildings like right on the street to give that street occupation. That's what really we found makes for a successful mixed-use commercial type project. So that's kind of the setbacks one. The parking, this is more or less a mixed-use project, which requires less parking than just your traditional big box retail. We've done a lot of parking studies and transportation demand management analysis to prove that that's true. We certainly don't want to build more parking than we need. And then, of course, there's the big one, which is the parking center. So, I don't know, Joe, you wanted to add anything to that, or?
You did pretty good, Jess.
I think I've been rambling on here. But I mean, we're super excited about it. It's a great project. You can already see where they did some drainage improvements, and you drive by there now that culvert and the drainage pipe is in there, you can really see how great a piece of land that is. And I don't know, I think it's a pretty rare opportunity that the community gets to build their town center.
The town certainly is excited to see something developed out there, so please make no mistake about that. We would love to see that site developed.
Absolutely.
Developed also. But I would say it, Jess, was there anything more you wanted to add to that, or do you mind if I open it up if the town board has any questions? Is there any questions from the board that relates to the incentive zoning?
Yeah, I have some. If nobody else does, there's. You can open it up to the public as well, or no? Okay.
This is not a public hearing.
Just for us.
Yes.
Okay, Jess, I appreciate the very in-depth explanation and the background information. I also appreciate you coming through and mentioning these other plans, because like the Charlotte Center Comprehensive Plan, or the Master Plan, it was great to see John Nowicki, who was on the planning board for a number of years, who has passed, to see him in the pictures. But on a lighter note, as we know, as was mentioned, this is to talk about incentives. And, we're not the planning board, we're not the zoning board, and I'll try to refrain from saying anything along those lines, taking out that civil engineering mentality, and try to stick to a town board incentive thing. But I'll start with, I went through the letter that you sent. I refreshed myself on some of the
town master plan and the Child Life Center plan and the rec plan, and just looking at those, and then from what you referenced in here to there. I'll start on page 5 of the letter, where you talked about zoning regulations helps developers pay for the fair share of the off-site infrastructure costs. Is there a metric or formula that you use to come up with the estimate of $210,000 for the sidewalk improvements and then $175,000 for the park improvements? Is there a metric that you use? How did you come to those figures?
Yeah, so it's a little different in 2 cases. For the sidewalk, it's based on, we have a pretty good understanding of how much concrete costs, especially when you're dealing with the state DOT and the right-of-way. So it's 10 foot deep times more or less the frontage of the entire project times a certain cost per square foot for concrete that we know to be about what it costs to put in sidewalk. So that one was a little straightforward.
I'm sorry, to touch on that though, but that's just what the cost to put it in there. But what is the metric, or how do you say, okay, this is what the sidewalk's going to cost, but for the incentive to compensate, we're going to give you something, you're going to give us something, and then how does that equate? How does that number, you come up with that number?
Yeah, if you find somebody that has a
Crystal ball?
like a really definitive numbers-based answer to how do you compare incentives to amenities, numerical value in any community. I'd love to hear it. I spent a lot of time doing the Whole Foods incentives on the application in Brighton, and that was always a popular topic, which was, all right, you're going to do $2 million of trail improvements on Auburn Trail. How many square feet of building does that equate to?
Right.
So, it's incumbent on the town and the town board at that point to kind of weigh the incentive versus the amenity and determine for yourselves what's fair and what's not. I can't tell you that $200,000 of amenity equals X feet of setback relief. That's just not the way it works. So, the way we looked at it was, okay, what we're asking for we think is fairly significant. We have 5 different incentives listed there. The setback ones maybe not as significant as some of the others. So we think in turn we should give something back that's significant. There is a sidewalk on Child Avenue, so we could just put our buildings there and not propose anything along the frontage. Just say, look, here we got a sidewalk there. That would be our fallback if we want to do probably a traditional zoning mechanism. But our feeling at the time was it would be a community benefit to have a big, wide plaza that could have seating and make people comfortable and feel safe. So we thought it was significant. And for the park, we start this, we're very early in the process, so all this becomes a dialogue in terms of what the town would want and what makes sense. We basically figured that, hey, it might make sense to have some pickleball courts over there, improve the landscaping a bit, redo some of that parking lot that's in a bit of disrepair, and we quantified it that way.
Okay. And I'll touch on each one of those as I go through my questions, but when you're looking at the first amendment, you talked about the sidewalk, the 10-foot sidewalk. Who will own that?
Well,
will that be on private? Will that be in the town right away?
It's a state right away.
It's a New York State right away. Will it be in the town easement, I should say? Because the town maintains all sidewalks on, county or state roads.
The only reason I hesitate is because we don't have the final survey back yet.
Okay.
That right-of-way line is a little bit funny and has some jogs to it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really want to build a sidewalk that's like jogging all over, following a right-of-way line, which is invisible. So it might be, I think that's the way to answer it. We anticipate that the majority of it will be private property, privately maintained. But there might be some places where it skirts into the right-of-way just as a function of the right-of-way line.
Okay. And then, so that'll be maintained, plowed and so forth, because right now we have, we hire a contractor to do our sidewalks. Would they be responsible for plowing that in the winter? Or would that be private as well?
If you're offering it plowed, we can take it.
Oh, you look nice today, Jess.
I don't believe that's what he's doing.
I don't think Dave Lindsay is either.
No, it's on private property.
Okay, so then my next question, what would it be used for? So I looked at some of what you proposed here with the restaurant, so would it be outdoor seating then, that type for them, or, because then, when we talked about, you talked a little bit more, I'll get to it, but also bicyclists, pedestrians getting through there. So,
Yeah, I think it could be used for outdoor seating, depending on the final users that go in those buildings. I think we could put some benches in there for people that aren't necessarily going to the restaurants, and they have a place to stop and rest. And I think there's, if the town would agree that they were interested in seeing that happen, I think we could have some conversations about what they do.
yeah. I mean, me personally, I mean, when you look at the sidewalk and from a bicyclist standpoint, it's, you look at where the sidewalk's going to start, where it's going to end. From a pedestrian standpoint, okay, is it going to be generating that much traffic where people are going to be walking 5 across and people aren't going to be able to get through? A bicyclist, more than likely they may ride on the road, is atypical because you're not going to go on the road, up on the sidewalk and then back out. It's not like what the city did on East Main Street, where they went and put in these, the designated areas for bicyclists and so forth. And if anybody else has a question along the way, just, jump in. But the page 1, the first amenity we talked about was the sidewalk. What is, and this has come up in your letter, and people may not know this, but what is your definition of Main Street? You talked about that a few different times.
I'm sorry. I should define it before we talk about it. We've been referring to as the new roadway that cuts through our parcel.
Okay, so, all right, so.
North-south road proposed through the middle of the.
All right, okay, because it just said, when you talked about it, it just said your, Main Street, and that was, if there was, something special that you were referring to or not.
I think we ended up with a lot of that terminology because, some of the comprehensive planning documents are specific ones that town Charlotte or more global like planning plans often use that Main Street verbiage when they're talking about street activation and
In reading, I'm sorry.
It does say Main Street style, so I think that's your qualifier, I think.
Yeah. So when you, you mentioned, you talked about other communities and like the village feel, like a Brockport, a Spencerport, or, Fairport. When you look at, I think those are been developed over time, where the buildings are closer, the buildings are taller, brick buildings and so forth. It gives you that little ambiance, that feel. Being Chili, you talked about, well, do we really have a Main Street area or the center of town in a sense? If you lived here, it's Chili Center, right? You got Two Fronts Plaza, which used to be Chili Paul Plaza. Are we really, from a definition standpoint, is that our main hub? And I think for the most part, everybody knows that. And then I can understand what you're saying about having buildings that are close, making it feel warm, making people they can get out, they can park somewhere and walk around in that community, in that area. I saw, enhanced bicycle and pedestrian facilities and improved connectivity. There's, as we know, there's already a sidewalk there. So my one question would be, where would it start? Where would it end? You answered that one. You talked about pedestrian facilities. What do you mean by pedestrian facilities?
Things like benches, landscape planners, places that we actually have a built-up brick planner that provides landscaping to break up the hardness of it, but people could also stop there. If they were rollerblading, they could stop and tie their shoes, or if they were just tired, they could sit on the bench. And that's what
So these are things that are that would be outside of the normal sidewalk, and this would be part of that 10-foot that you would talk about?
That was the thought process, yeah. I mean, 10 feet gives us a lot of opportunity to include those things.
Right.
And still have plenty of room for people to get by and walk by.
Yeah. And then just looking at the plan, I was just, looking at what you were referring to and how it would all fit in there and how tight that would actually be.
Yeah, again, just as a caveat, this was done based on like LiDAR and tax maps, and so I reserve the right to change my comments on where the line falls exactly.
Sure. Yeah. And knowing the right of way on how, being familiar with that and how it varies, depending upon the road. Yeah, how it changed, and New York State's involved, so, welcome to that world. Improved connectivity, how will it improve on what we have, and what wouldn't it be required during the approval process, whether it's from the state, planning board, or so forth?
How does the project improve that?
Yes, the improved connectivity.
Well, I think what we're proposing to do with our new roadway goes above and beyond just a typical driveway access that we throw an easement over and just call it connectivity, right? I mean, you know, you could say that there's connectivity from Hall Road through the plaza out to Charlotte Avenue. I've been guilty of doing it, it's probably not a great idea though. But that's not a defined roadway that has a boulevard, that has lighting, that's inviting, that's safe, that has traffic calming measures.
So you're basically referring to the possible dedicated road that would go through there?
Yes.
Yes, okay, all right. Yeah, and I know I'm guilty of that as well.
So that's what we used to do, right? So like I said earlier, if you're at the diner,
Right.
you want to go watch the game down the park, then you could, you know, like I said earlier, anticipate the signal lights, sewer project, go to the park.
Second amenity, improvements to Memorial Park. I think everybody on the board here knows, we just went through doing some improvements for the playgrounds at a number of our parks. And when you look at the dollar amount, the cost for playground equipment and the new rubber matting that's going down, and you look at, you know, what you refer to as the $175,000 for that, what type of improvements are you recommending, or has an engineer's estimate been done when you mentioned that where the basketball park or the basketball court is, and that, you know, parking that's close to the entrance to the memorial?
Yeah, we've done some, what we refer to as back and napkin type estimates. We didn't want to get too detailed until we had some of these conversations and hopefully even have a live application. But our thought process was, you know, okay, we think we should improve the parking lot. About how much, you know, that's probably $3 a square foot. And we could, depending on, again, we're making a lot of assumptions about having a dialogue. So
Right.
this is subject to negotiation to a degree. But if we replace that basketball court with a pickleball court, which seems very popular,
Right.
you know, we now have an idea how much it is for a pickleball court, the fencing and everything goes with that. We weren't necessarily planning on swapping out playground equipment and the ball protection and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. And you also talked about a gazebo or small pavilion. What, you know, size-wise, what do you, when you talk about gazebo, there was an old one that was on the town property. I mean, something small, or what's your thought? And, well, even before you go there, I'll say this. I think we all know, too, there's been a little history in that area at that basketball court. There's times that the town has had to take the rims off the backboards because of problems there. We also know about parking. You know, some people, you know that when Chi-Li Little League, they have their baseball programs, parking is a tough issue over there. So they may ask you for more parking at your development when it goes through, because when there's games, you know, they struggle to find parking.
They park in our project, and we hope they shop in our project.
So I don't want to, I know these are somewhat some planning board, but these are also the incentives. So these are things that you propose, so that's why I'm touching these things.
Yeah.
So
again, we assigned a, you know, very much a rough order of magnitude or ROI estimate to parking lot, rehab, pickleball courts,
okay. Anybody else, or am I doing good so far?
How many, can I just ask you, how many square feet, do you know, is that parking lot? Approximately?
Like 15,000.
Yeah. And then I'll go to page 3 where it says relief from the town, the setbacks. The two different plans that are submitted, one has the front parking, which is the one that you basically could go ahead and start and build. That, right, correct. And I think that's important for people to know, that, you know, you do have the two different plans. And, you know, the one thing that you obviously would be going before planning, but also probably zoning for the front parking, because we know how that, you know, they would have to get approval. Why do you feel that this is needed? I think you've answered that. And first floor residential, this is for the two buildings along Memorial in the back. So your thought process for having that, for doing
Yeah,
it?
I talked a little bit about it already, just to expand on that, you know. any residential project is going to have some level of internal amenities. You're going to have mail, probably some kind of fitness room, and to some degree, you want to have the residences close to each other. Now, first of all, you need a certain amount of units just to make it even worthwhile having the conversation. Like, we're not going to do 8 units or 12 units, you know.
Financially, it wouldn't make sense.
It's just good. Not to mention, you need momentum and you need a community in order for it to be successful. We don't need, but it certainly helps. So 50 is about the minimum of what we thought would be feasible for it to be a vibrant project where the actual residential component of it contributes to the project as a whole, which we believe it does. Now, we could have taken those units and spread them out like we did in the as-of-right plan into 4 or 5 different buildings on the upper floors.
I'm sorry, where'd you do that? Or is this?
The right plan, the plan that follows all the zoning.
Okay.
That doesn't require any incentive.
But did you do that someplace already, though, or no? In another location? I don't know if John has been involved with anything like that.
We've done, we did over by Wegmans, we have.
Oh, for Greenwood?
Yeah.
Right. So.
But the point I was making was, let's say our minimum is 50 units.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of different options. One is we have all retail on the first floor, then we can take the units and start spreading them out on all the different buildings in the site.
Right.
Now we have people spread out all over the place. That's a lot harder to maintain. That's a lot harder to deal with things like trash collection.
Understand.
That makes it a lot less convenient for those people to get to those amenities, like kids that might have, like the leasing office. So we felt pretty strongly that hey, having people live here is going to be an asset to the project and make it more successful. And we feel that having those people kind of in the same 2 buildings is the most efficient and effective way, rather than putting them in all buildings.
Right. And I know one thing that people look at, because if you follow the town, there's been some development with apartments. There's the luxury, there's the affordable, and the subsidized, and then senior. Is there a certain avenue that you're pursuing here with this?
Yeah, these would be, the market rate luxury side of it. It's not going to be an affordable tax credit deal. It's not going to be a Section 8 deal. Again, we all got excited when we were putting this plan together about the thought of people living in that location.
Right.
When we visualized living there, I was like, man, if this thing develops like the way we think it's going to, that's going to be a really cool place to be.
So I'm sure that, there's a market rate for, these apartments, so dollar-wise, what the rent would go for and so forth, and, the market rate. So your experience with the other projects too, you have a understanding of that as well?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so. What is, from Gizzy's standpoint, the experience? I know they got townhouses that, they rent and so forth. With apartments, how do you see this different from that aspect?
I'm more than happy to. I don't want to, maybe happy to want to, it's not that much different, right? So they have a very successful and beautiful project that's up off of Whittier in the town of Ogden. They're doing a smaller project over in North Chi-Lai. At the end of the day, the big difference in multifamily is it for sale or is it for rent? Those are for rent.
Right.
Those are for rent.
Right.
The difference between having the townhome style and what that really means is individual entries with their own garages. First, what we would refer to as a double-loaded corridor building that is easier to keep secure. You have one entrance and always. It's a little bit different than when you manage trash collection. You actually have to have a dumpster enclosure and people have to get their trash out as opposed to wheeling their totes out. But you're still leasing units. That part's all the same. It's a similar market. It's a similar type of demand. Similar rates. You're still talking in the high $1s to low $2 per square foot ballpark.
And for us then, as a board, it's this project, can come in today, and we've seen this, we've experienced this, where the developer will come in, they'll build this, we change zoning, we do the incentives or what have you. Over time, that builder or that owner sells, moves on, somebody else takes it over, may not have the same commitment. Well, once we make the decision, then we're stuck with it. We're elected by the people to serve the people. And their best interest. So that's for us, for me, I take that personal. That's why I'm taking the time now, because whatever we do, now or in the future, it's for our kids, grandkids, other people, our constituents. So.
No, I totally get it, which is why, I'm excited to be involved in the project because of who's developing. Not some out-of-town REIT or some developer that you guys have never heard of. It's a family from the west side who has a proven track record, who builds stuff and holds it.
Right.
They don't build stuff and hold it.
Right. And just the other thing too is when you come through that, when you enter, as you mentioned, you enter Memorial Park. When they come through, that's almost the first thing they're going to see on the left-hand side when they're pulling in. Whether it's people that live in the community or people come from out of town to go to our parks or watch, whatever at the fields. So we want to make sure that what we have, and seeing the history, I understand how things are done correctly. And but if for some reason they did sell and move on, somebody else could come in. We've seen that with other apartment complexes. Almost done. Thank you for bearing with me on this. I know we have some of the people from the fire department here. I look at the one drawing, wonder if there's any chance that they would also re-subdivide and sell that little parcel, that little flag piece that's to the, was it the southeast of the property? No, and I see laughs and smiles over there with the fire department. So,
Sorry about this.
correct. Yep. No.
Yeah, I mean, that's where my rambling taps out. I know that there have been some conversations, but that's not part of the
Yep.
deal.
Okay. Well, I greatly appreciate your guys' time, the efforts, the drawings that went into it, the communications that you've given to us, allowed us to go and review this. And
Are there any other questions from the board? All right. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you did
Michael
too.
covered most of
So,
mine.
as we are tasked with incentive zoning and incentive zoning only, with the incentives that were offered and it's my understanding and the feedback I received from the town board that we are not going to send this to the planning board for consideration. From what you've heard this evening, if the board, anybody feels any differently, please say so now. But at this time, I would say that as proposed, at this time, we are not going to send this to the planning board for consideration. You may.
Is it just possible to maybe do just hear from everybody, maybe some specific comments that we can react to? We heard the first floor residential.
I have some serious concerns about the first floor residential, especially on the back end of the park where you enter and it's the first thing you see, the first floor. They run beautiful, residence
Properties.
places. But that, Michael kind of addressed it. We live in a town where we've seen other projects on first floor issues. And I think, like you've said, this is kind of Chi-Li's pride and joy. And it's our job to make sure that this is done right. And I think you guys are really on the right track. I think this is a really good plan. That's just one thing that's really a sticking point for me.
The other thing I'm sorry, James, you
No, I mean, planning stuff, we're not tired to talk about planning stuff, because I was just saying, there's a lot of stuff I love. That's just when we're talking about what we're here for, that's the problem I have.
What I will say is the 10-foot sidewalk as an incentive is a non-starter. All right, we didn't, the board, the feedback that I received, basically that we don't see that as an amenity for the town that benefits the town. Incentive zoning are things and amenities that are supposed to benefit the town, and we didn't see that as necessarily a direct benefit to the town or the residents of the town. It's nice for the buildings that were proposed out there. It's nice for the businesses up there. And I will also say one other thing. You know, I'm very familiar with this developer. I'm very familiar with their work. We love their work. We trust what they do is top quality. It is beautiful work, and there's been no, I know it's been mentioned here a little bit about that. Make no mistake that we do, I believe this board likes and appreciates the quality of the work and the workmanship that this developer puts into these type of projects. None of us deny any of that, but however, that's not a part of what we're to be considered. We're looking at the consideration of the incentives offered for the amenities or the relief that you're looking for, the applicant's looking for in this particular project. And at this time, again, I would say that the town board, based on that, based on the feedback I received, is not going to move forward with incentive zoning at this time.
And Jess, do you really want me to talk more?
The applicant is certainly, you're certainly willing.
We have a car wash developer who's interested, and that's our third iteration of the plan.
Yeah.
Well, that's a planning board thing. It has nothing to do with this town board, so.
Have you met Mike Nyan?
So, no, but certainly, I believe this board would be open to considerations or reconsideration of different type of things.
Different types of incentives.
But there's, I would say this isn't a, end of story type of situation. This is just for the incentive zoning, as proposed.
I appreciate you saying that.
Is not moving forward.
You did say sounded kind of like.
Conversations can still take place, Jess.
So if you want to do a land swap, move the town hall over there, so we can have everything on one complex.
40-story residential.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I kind of already went down that road. I didn't see that in the proposal.
So in other words, you talked about that 10-foot wide sidewalk. So if I'm hearing what everybody has said, you didn't like the sidewalk as an incentive that benefits the town. It didn't mean we wouldn't want a 10-foot wide sidewalk, but we don't feel that that's a good incentive. Did I hear that right?
That is correct.
Well, on their parcel.
Well, yeah, but
That's correct. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of the one that brought it up. Initially, when we were talking about the projects initially, I said, wouldn't it be nice to have something more like what we see at College Town in Mount Hope, where they have the deep sidewalks and you can put some tables and chairs out there, people can sit, have their coffee or a donut or a Danish or a taco or whatever it is that they do out there. I said, what a great look that would be for the center of our town. So, in all fairness, we like the idea, Mary's right. We like the idea of the 10-foot sidewalk, just not as an incentive.
It's Park Avenue when you look at that, how they put the chairs outside, Frog Pond and others.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, right. Main Street. What's your explanation of that? No. Bless you.
So, at this time, I think we're all set. We're done. You know where to find us.
I guess my question would be, do you guys have something in mind that you would like to see for an incentive on top of the park improvements, or where do we kind of go with it?
I don't know, Sandy, it's Joe Gizzi, for the record, okay? I don't know that we're prepared to answer that tonight, Joe. More than happy to have some conversation with the board and see where that might go. Certainly, you're more than welcome. We can come in and we can sit down and go over, my door's always open to have some conversation about it, but give me a little bit to just have a discussion with the board and see if there's something there that makes more sense. Off the top of my head, I can think, well, I need $8.5 million to build a park if you want to, but I'm thinking that's probably out of the question.
Only if you give them a 40-story building.
But nonetheless, no. Give us some time to kind of have a conversation. Not a lot of time. I understand time is money for you, and we'll have some conversation, see where we go. All right.
We can look at other improvements to the park.
We'll have the discussion, and certainly I can get back to you if you don't mind. All right.
Without a doubt.
Do you guys have any questions for me?
You really want that? No, I'm kidding.
Aren't you tired of me talking already?
He has another page of notes, so.
Yeah.
No, I think we're good. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we will move right on to, we have a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak at the public hearing, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you shall be heard. The budget here, the public hearing is on the 2025 budget for the lighting district, sidewalk district, park district, consolidated drainage district, assessment rolls for fire and protection districts, assessment rolls for ambulance district, proposed contracts for ambulance district, proposed contracts for fire and fire protection districts, and the preliminary budget for 2025. Anyone wishing to speak, please step up, state your name and address for the record, and you should be heard.
It's that good.
Seeing none, I will move on, and we will move to the public forum. Anyone wishing to speak at the public forum, if you would please step up, state your name and address for the record, and you shall be heard. Seeing none, we will move on to matters of the supervisor. Yeah, I'm kind of stunned because, you know, it really is, it's a great budget. Very proud of what Dan and I were able to put together put together with the department heads. They did a great job, so.
Do you want to reinforce that the taxes are going down?
The tax rate?
If the tax rate,
The tax rate,
yes,
that's
is
right.
going down significantly. It's if it passes next month, there'll be, it goes down to $1.83 from $2.62, I believe.
$2.62.
So it's a significant, about half the tax rate it's been 4 years ago was about twice that, so.
So if anybody's questioning it, you know, they talk about, oh, my taxes are, you know, whatever. But you have the town, school, county tax. So we are the lowest tax rate out of all of those. So I think to people, when they say it, go back and look at your tax bill to see where you're really getting hit and by who. So I think we've done a good job. The department heads have been very, very responsible as well, so.
Absolutely.
Actually, we have the third lowest rate in Monroe County.
Say anything, I'm sorry?
Third lowest rate. Well, Riga has 0. Henrietta is like 95 cents.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
forgot
like
about Riga.
Yeah, we're the,
Yeah,
we have
but-
the landfill.
Yeah, I
So,
forgot.
Other than that, we do have the Halloween event coming up next Saturday. That is a huge, and that is a big event. Always looking forward to that. It's a lot of fun. We expect a little over 800 kids to come through with their costumes, so it's a lot of fun. If there's any businesses or organizations that have not yet signed up to participate, I believe you can still do that. You contact the Recreation Department, and they will go ahead and move forward with that. Want to thank Mike Curley and Jen over at the Senior Center for we had a great Oktoberfest luncheon the other day. Had a lot of fun with the seniors over there. We served 135 lunches over there, and was a lot of fun. I know Family Fun Day has gone by, and I understand that was a huge success. Unfortunately, I was unable to make that one, but I see that was a tremendous success. We had a lot of new activities going on over there, which really added to it. So it was very, very nice. Other than that, I don't.
Veterans.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Michael.
Yep.
On
November 9th.
November 9th, we do a Veterans Breakfast. That is, we're going to do something a little different this year. I actually have a menu this year to give a couple choices so that people can select one of 2 different items, but that's usually a little over 200. We get veterans and their guests. It's a great event. Anybody from the general public, any of the organizations, any businesses, anything in Chili that wants to come out. The breakfast is already set for veterans and their guests, but we also do an honor line, which is going to come from the room that the breakfast is in, all the way out to the new Veterans Memorial. If you have not seen that, it's it's largely 100% complete. We have some grass that's growing, and we got to do a little just minor cleanup over there. Pull the fences down. But if you haven't seen that Veterans Memorial, it is now the pride and joy of Chili to have a memorial like that. The old one was nice. It served its purpose, and that will be repurposed over at the American Legion at some point. But the new memorial is absolutely beautiful. Did a great job, and we'll be doing a dedication of that memorial at that time, too. So it's a great place to be if you would like to come out and honor those who served us so well. And quite frankly, the reason most of us are being able to sit in this room tonight for this town board meeting, speak what we want to say, do it, and have public hearings and public presentations, and even have a government like we do, it is because of those who served in the military. So thank you to all of those.
And David, just to reiterate, if you, people out in the audience, you know somebody, or you got a group, Boy Scouts, I know, I'm not sure if the Patriot Guard Riders are going to be there this year, but they have in the past. You know, we're going to set a line, as David mentioned, you know, and the veterans are going to walk between us, between the two lines, and out to the memorial. And if you got people that can come out, join us, so honor the veterans, that'd be great to have you. Family, friends, neighbors, so.
Other than that, I'll move on. Sir, we don't have any, there's no questions at this point. We're done with no questions. So with that, we'll move on to matters of the council. Anything?
Good.
Okay, we do have the approval of minutes from the September 18th meeting, and also there's several reports that have been submitted. Moving right along to the resolutions. Resolution 205, 2024 budget amendments. Moved by Councilman DeCory, second by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Councilman Slattery?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 5-0. Resolution 206, refund building permit.
Moved, second.
Moved by Councilman Valerio, seconded by Councilman Slattery. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Councilman Slattery?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 5-0. Resolution 207, amend Resolution 262 from November 15th, 2023, Town Board Meeting, ARPA SLFRF funds, playground equipment, and purchase of replacement playground equipment and surfacing.
Moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councilman Slattery, seconded by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? All I would like to say is that we spent less money. This went down. It's a good thing.
And they look great. They
Under
look
budget. They
great.
look beautiful.
They look beautiful.
Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Councilman Slattery?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 5-0. Resolution 208, seek a determination of significance
Moved.
for Milk House Development Project. Moved by Councilman
Second.
Slattery, seconded by Councilman Valerio. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Councilman Slattery?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 5-0. Resolution 209, Chi-Li Fire Department removed from active list.
Supervisor, I'll move Resolution 209 to 210, Charlie Fire Department exempt list.
Second.
Resolution 209 and 210 were moved by Councilman Slattery, seconded by Councilman Valerio. Questions or comments?
Supervisor, I know we have some members of the Charlie Fire Department in the audience tonight, and I just want to say thank you to what you folks do, the men and women that serve our community, and it's greatly appreciated and underappreciated in my opinion, but thank you for what you do.
Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Councilman Slattery?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 5-0. Resolution 211, Employer Medical Contribution 2025.
Move.
Moved by
Second.
Councilman DeCory, seconded by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Councilman Slattery?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 5-0. Resolution 212, Flexible Spending Account for Town Employees for 2025. Moved by Councilman Valerio,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Slattery. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Councilman Slattery?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 5-0. Resolution 213, set public hearing for introductory law of the year 2024, which would establish a 6-month moratorium on Tier 3 solar energy system approvals in the town of Chi-Li.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Slattery, seconded by Councilman DeCory. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare.
Aye.
Councilman Valerio.
Aye.
Councilman Slatter.
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning.
Aye, passes 5-0. Resolution 214, October 16th, 2020, abstract.
Moved.
2024, I'm sorry, abstract. Moved by Councilwoman Spare, seconded by Councilman Valerio. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory.
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare.
Aye.
Councilman Valerio.
Aye.
Councilman Slatter.
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning.
Aye, passes 5-0. And I apologize, the addition of Resolution 215 came very, very late this afternoon to amend this resolution. So Resolution 215, amend Resolution Number 163 of 2024, Justice Court Assistance Program, to read as follows.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Slattery, second by Councilman Valerio. Just,
Yeah.
anybody wants to know, the only thing that changed was the be it resolved. This is the language. The numbers and amounts haven't changed.
Okay.
This is the language that the Justice Court grant program
Requires?
requires that specific verbiage to be in the resolution, and we did not have that.
We didn't
verbiage.
have it. Okay.
Any other
Thank you.
questions or comments?
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory.
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare.
Aye.
Councilman Valerio.
Aye.
Councilman Slatter.
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning.
Aye, passes 5-0. The next meeting of the Chi-Town Board will be November 13th.